This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It is 3/9/2023, never to be repeated again. So delighted to be kicking off the day with you guys, and hopefully we will multiply and have others join us before we're done. Robin, good to have you on the call. I started to say good to see you, but I know you're withholding that from us for now. Let's pause before I jump in and take over and just say, how are things going in your life, in your business? What's working? What's not? What are you excited about? What are you scared of? What's going on?
I have
So,
a listing appointment this weekend that I'm going on that I'll get the listing. It's my neighbor a couple of doors down with all its geo farming, so I'm excited about that. But
good. So
I, I
you,
hated
you
I hated seeing Shannon's interest rate email at 6 and 7%. That's pretty expensive.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Really, it's about 7 3/4 is the standard right now. That's why a lot of buyers are doing buy downs, 2-1 buy downs. They're getting the seller to make a contribution, and you can get an entry level rate of about 5 3/4, 2 points down. But yes, it's still scary, and the Fed is rumbling about more increases to come. So it's too early to start the celebration on rates. But congratulations, Tom. Did I hear you say you had been farming your neighborhood?
Yes, I've been farming
Oh,
it for the past year and a half, and it's hopefully it'll start happening.
yes, yes. Okay, well, fantastic.
It will,
Looks
Tom.
good.
It will.
It will.
Oh,
So, Blythe, I was going to hand you the microphone next because my wife, who is on social media, I hardly am ever on there anymore, but she's like, doggone it, that Blythe sold another one. I mean, I've told you this before, but she told me this again just a couple days ago. Blythe got another one. Blythe sold another one. So, tell us what's going on in your business.
Yeah, so my goal for the first quarter was to sell four. Typically for me, so I'm just going into my third full year of real estate. I got my license in the fall of 2020. So my goal was to sell four in the first quarter, but typically the first quarter for me in the past couple of years has been pretty dead.
Mhm.
I mean, just, like nothing. But I have closed six transactions
Oh,
since the start of the new
wow.
year. Yeah.
Wow.
So one was when we went live way back in November and it didn't end up closing until January. That was just kind of a
Okay.
really weird time. Um, I guess for all of us in the market,
Yes.
it was just like it just was taking a long time. We had to drop the price. A lot of factors contributed to it, but it didn't end up closing until January. So I'm counting it in 2023, even though it went live
Yes.
in 2022.
It was a
Um,
23.
yeah, and so yeah, I've closed six. It's been wild. um and I've got, I mean, probably another six in the pipeline. One went live today. And then I've got one that's I'm just waiting on them to get the house ready. I went over there the other day and it was kind of in shambles. It's vacant. So they've pushed back a couple of times. So but they'll list eventually. And those are both in
Yes.
my neighborhood. And then I've got a couple more in my neighborhood. So that's why I say, Tom, the geo farming, it will happen. It's just consistency over time. I know that's the
Yes.
same old story everybody tells us, but I promise you, just keep
Yeah.
doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And I even got a message yesterday that said from one of my neighbors, and she said, my husband says if we can net 275, we'll sell. And I was like, probably not going to happen in our neighborhood, depending on what you owe. But she said, I love the mailer you sent last week. So you see, like people are watching and noticing. You just have to keep doing it, even when you feel like nothing's happening and there's no return. There
Yeah.
is.
They are reading your stuff. In fact, I can promise you, Blythe and Tom, there are neighbors of yours who have a stack of everything you've ever mailed to their home. Th-
Probably.
There are people who collect everything. They'll save everything. And then when you go eventually a year from now, whatever, for a listing appointment, they're going to bring out that stack with a big grin on their face and show you what a diligent saver they've been of all your stuff. So, yeah, but you may not know the impact you're making until you get that call. Okay, anybody else want to jump in here before I kind of grab the mic back? Rochelle, anything going on? Robin, Kevin? Okay. All right. Y'all gonna be shy? Okay, no problem. Will you save all those great comments for later? Let me jump in here. So I mentioned in my text message that maybe not all of you got yet in promoting this session this morning that I wanted to talk about what it means to be a holy and perfect real estate agent. And that was inspired by my devotional readings this morning. I was in the book of Leviticus. Anybody ever read Leviticus before? Ah, it's actually fascinating. I'm a big fan. And this is how chapter 19 starts. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the entire assembly of Israel and say to them, 'Be holy, because I, the Lord your God, am holy.'" And then it goes on. That was the introduction to describe exactly what that means. And he says, each of you must respect your father and mother. You know, that's what it means to be holy. Um, when you harvest your land, don't take everything, but leave the fringes. Don't go back a second time. Leave food on the ground. Leave food in the fruit trees for the poor and the orphans and the widows to come and be able to get food. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do not deceive one another. Oh, here's one of my favorites. Kind of. Do not curse the deaf. Remember, they can't hear. Don't curse them because they can't hear what you're saying. And don't put a stumbling block in front of the blind. Who would do that? I know the kids I went to junior high school would. Did y'all ever play that trick on each other? Somebody would bend down and you'd go push them from the front. But, anyways, this is God talking to the nation of Israel. So apparently, it's not just junior high boys who do that kind of thing. And then I love this one. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the rich. But judge your neighbor fairly. Nobody gets a pass just because of their economic status. Everybody's held to the same standard. So that's all explanation of be holy. And it reminded me of something that Jesus said in the New Testament in the Beatitudes, Matthew chapter 5, verse 49. Jesus said something similar, be perfect, therefore, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. And he explained that. That was the summary. This was the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the meek, blessed are the pure in heart. And he goes on to talk about don't murder people, practice justice. Oh, and this is a big one, love your enemies. He really challenged the people. And in the end, his summary was, oh, let me just say it like this, be perfect. Okay. That simplifies it, doesn't it? Just be perfect. Now, when most of us hear those words, be perfect or be holy as God is holy, would you agree that maybe there's a little bit of an intimidation factor? Like, wow, uh, did, did you forget that we are mere mortals down here? We're flesh and blood, and we deal with stuff all day long. How in the world could you expect us to be holy as you're holy or perfect as you're perfect? Right? Y'all getting this? Okay. So let's talk about that for just a moment. What do you think was in God the Father's mind in the Old Testament or Jesus's mind in the New Testament when they set these seemingly impossible behavioral standards? And they were both behavioral comments, showing clearly in the context. This is how you are to act. This is what you're to do or not to do. What do you think is going on here? I'm pushing your theologian buttons before we turn this around and focus on our real estate for just a moment. And trust me, this has great application to our real estate behavior. Yes,
I
Blythe,
think
I see that
I
hand.
think it's that we know we're not capable of doing it on our own.
Okay,
So
so
we
we need
need more
help.
help.
I love that. I'm going to take that. That's a good one. Very insightful. Anybody else? Why
Well,
would we be given? Yeah, go
if you're
ahead.
striving to be perfect, then you will do the right thing.
Shoot for the moon. If you fall short, you land in the stars. You know, you're going to be doing better than you would have been otherwise, for sure. Yeah. So say that one more time, Rochelle. Say it in your own words.
I said if you're striving to be perfect, then you're gonna do the right thing and maybe end up higher than you would
Yeah.
anticipate. If you're striving only to do mediocre, then you
Yeah.
won't do so well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If you set lower expectations, it's probably unlikely you're going to rise above them. So um, let me share a comment that I think not nearly as profound as Rochelle or Blythe shared with us, but I think might be helpful to all of us. I think this be holy and be perfect are setting the standard. That's the standard that we're to shoot for. Are we going to achieve that in this lifetime? Probably not. Are we going to achieve that in the next 5 minutes? That could also be doubtful, right? But that doesn't mean that we lower the standard. The standard is what the standard is. We're not to murder people. We're not to steal. We're not to commit adultery. We're not to put a stumbling block behind a blind person. Okay, you see what I mean? Those things are never okay. And so be holy and be perfect these are the standards. And I actually looked up the word, the definition, and where did I put it? A standard means a level of quality or attainment. We say that something is the standard in its industry or the standard in its line, or it's a thing used as the norm in comparative evaluations. You can see how you're doing by always comparing to the norm. And like Rochelle said, if you set a low standard, you're never going to exceed that. But if your standard is perfection, then you can certainly chart your progress. And let's be honest, if you never get there, at least you're constantly being called higher, right? So there we go. I believe that was one of the reasons, in addition to what Blythe and Rochelle shared with us, why God and then later his son Jesus set forth such seemingly impossible goals for us to attain: holiness and perfection. So let's turn it around now. Let's talk about our real estate careers. Do we have such standards to which we hold ourselves in our professional life? And remember, this is a behavioral orientation. We talk about mindset a lot. That's very important. But we're talking about what behavioral expectations or behavioral standards have we set for ourselves professionally that are going to inspire us to press forward and establish a norm for our behavior on a daily basis? Okay, now if you're wondering, Frank, what in the world are you talking about? I'll share a couple, just very practical. One of your behavioral standards might be, I'm going to host at least 2 open houses a month. Okay, that's a standard. And we can measure ourselves against whether or not we are meeting that standard behaviorally. I'm going to add 5 people to my database every week. That's a behavioral standard. And if our standards are developed for our business according to proven processes, proven success models, then they can be extremely helpful for us in moving our career forward. So I want to throw out the question and talk about this for just a few minutes. Have you already established some behavioral standards that you may achieve only imperfectly, perhaps, but at least you know what you're shooting for? Anybody established any in your business already? Love to hear them. This is where we need the music.
I'll go.
Okay, go Bly. Go.
I've not been perfect with these, obviously, over the span of my short real estate career, but I do try to send a weekly newsletter to everybody in my
Okay,
database.
awesome.
And lately I've been trying to implement reaching out to 5 people a day, just kind of based on what I see on social media. Or it could be their birthday, it could be, their daughter did well at a gymnastics competition over the weekend or whatever. And I'll just send a quick Facebook message or a text message if I have their phone number, and just say, something about what's going on in their life, just to kind of stay in front of them. I haven't been super consistent yet, but it is something that I'm working towards.
Sure.
Life and business have been busy, so some of those things it's easy to let go by the wayside.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so Blythe kicked us off. Two of her standards are every week, doggone it, I'm going to send a weekly newsletter. Okay, and it's my goal, my perfection standard, to reach out to 5 people every day in one means or another, but to proactively initiate contact with human beings. Okay, all right. Anybody else want to play? What have you already established in your business as standards? Yes, Robin.
Well, I'm going backwards, it seems like. Ever since I haven't been coming to the office Monday through Wednesday, I have lost
Yes.
my mojo. And so now I'm just trying to reestablish a pattern and a discipline to get me back on I mean, I've got business, but it's, I'm not looking forward every day to doing it. So
Yes.
I got to figure out a way to jumpstart me again. So
Yeah.
that would be my.
So, Robin, this is very timely for you, apparently, because you're
Mm-hmm,
needing to reestablish some standards, some
mm-hmm,
behavioral norms that you reach to attain on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that are going to drive your business success.
yeah.
So, and we're going to turn toward that in just a moment of perhaps some new standards we should implement. But has anybody else established any already that you tend to follow?
I have
I
some.
do. Yeah. Who was that? Kevin?
It's
Yeah.
Kevin.
Let's tell us
Kevin
about
the girl.
You know,
it. Kevin
when
the
when
girl.
all is oh sorry, Kevin, my dear, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
there's
love
more
her
than
with
one
her
Kevin in the world.
trained cows. Go ahead.
I do, well, it's through Reminder Media. So I do the newsletter and then the uh, postcards. I would like to do my own newsletter though. I drag my feet on KV Core a lot. That was my goal this year, was to learn KV Core. And then I have actually friends that are contacting my leads for me through KV Core when I post,
Okay.
because I
Yes.
can't bring myself to do that anymore. So they're retired and they're salespeople and they call my they call my leads for me. I'm
Kevin, I
cheating
would
on that,
say
but
you are the salesperson if you've convinced your friends to follow up on your leads. That's another level of
I don't know
sales
how that happened.
expertise.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
great.
promised the benefit there somewhere.
So, e-newsletter and postcard, she said, and the very interesting part about that is both of those behavior patterns are actually implemented by third-party companies, right? They're sending out the newsletter, they're sending out the postcard. Um, that you will get to a point in your career where you have to do that, where you have to leverage the time of other people, systems of other organizations, and Kevin's doing that. So let's just turn the page just a little bit here and talk about and think. I want you to think about your specific career, the sources of business that you enjoy working in, whether it be Sphere or Geo or Open House or farming divorce attorneys or whatever it is, how you like running your business, and what standards could you implement? What behavioral norms, what patterns could you implement that would help you generate consistent results in your business? So now we're not talking about necessarily what we're doing right now, but aspirationally, things that we could move toward. Anybody want to play with that one?
Well, I know it's all the things that we've learned that we just don't apply,
Yes. So
if we,
Kevin, can you be a little more specific?
well,
Among
all
the
the
all,
sphere of
yes,
influence, adding people there, I
yes,
don't do that very well.
yes,
Um, all of our open houses are uh, just all the stuff in your book. We only do a little bit of it, not a whole lot.
yeah. I'm gonna shut the door behind me. If you'll excuse me, I'll almost be right back. the staff is arriving and they have a good time with each other. So a little bit of a distraction in my ear. Okay, so Kevin was talking about all the things in the book, the 1 Year Six Figures book. And oh, by the way, it is my commitment that when I go on a family vacation in April, first week of April, I'm going to rewrite 1 Year Six Figures. So I'm going to update it. I'm going to EXPify it and add some additional information on really for team leaders, how to build a team, basically how to go from top producer status to mega producer status, how to go beyond six figures to seven. And Tom, you came up with a great name for that book the other day. It was six figures and beyond, or something like that.
Yeah, I think we just added and beyond to it. But
And beyond. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, anyways, I'm excited about doing that update. I've been thinking about it for a long, long time. But I do my best writing work on a cruise ship. My family
Nice.
sleeps in. Everybody sleeps in. It's like going to Vegas. If you want to really enjoy Vegas, get up about 4 o'clock in the morning and go for a run. It is so awesome. There's nobody on the streets. At least nobody you want to stop and talk to. And Same thing on a cruise ship. I like to get up really early. This place is silent, and I can go sit in a nightclub or wherever I want. And so I plan to do that and make some good progress on the book. So, so the question is, what are some behavioral patterns you could implement? Maybe you've been thinking about them, but you haven't done them. Maybe you're afraid to say them because you're not sure that you'll actually follow through and do anything about them. Anybody want to play? Okay,
I've
Blythe.
been thinking about implement. So I'm a heavy geo farmer as well as like Sphere and social media.
Hmm.
Um, I've been thinking about implementing like a preview open house in my geo farm for my neighbors and making it a little bit
Yes.
more like a party, where there's drinks
Yes.
and hors d'oeuvres and that kind of thing. I haven't pulled the trigger because I don't know how successful it's going to be and I don't want to waste a bunch of money.
I can
um,
help you with that. Okay.
mhm,
Talk whenever you do something like that, don't do it
mhm.
alone.
Oh yeah, my lender splits everything with me,
I was,
but
go- I was going to
still,
say, lender, inspector, get them
title
all, get
company,
two or
yeah,
three of them, let them pay for everything, right? You just,
yes,
you just be the organizer and let them pick up the tab. Okay,
yeah.
fine.
I have like personal baggage about hosting events and inviting a bunch of people and then nobody showing up.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's kind of my hang up there. I think that I'd have people come, but
Yes.
because I'm a heavy geo farmer and pride myself on really growing those relationships, not just for business. I mean, of course it's for business, but also just to know my neighbors,
Yes.
to be able to host something that would be just for them whenever I do have a listing in the neighborhood, I think would be
Yes.
interesting to see how that works out.
I, Blythe, I want to encourage you. I think that would be a massive hit.
Okay.
I would call it a neighborhood preview party just for neighborhood residents. Um, get a margarita machine
Yeah.
or have daiquiris or
Hmm.
something,
Hmm.
and tell them that
Yeah.
we're going to have a margarita machine. We're also having tips, treats, cookies, and just play it
Yeah.
up. And I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think I do a lot of it. I do about 6 events in my neighborhood as it is every year. So I think
Yes.
adding that on top of it would just again be more like fuel on the fire. So
Yes.
um,
Agreed.
just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. There's a nice behavioral norm that she's not ready to commit to, but she's sure mulling in her head. Um, I'll share one. Somebody just randomly mentioned this one the other day, that it's one of their standards is they try to do one business social media post per day and one personal social media post per day. Just one and one. Have you heard that before? Just that alone could be a game changer for some of you because it creates consistency in your business. And I suspect most of the people in your sphere are in your social media. I say social media instead of Facebook because I realize the world is migrating. And I hear the young people around the office talk, and it's not Facebook anymore for a lot. Instagram and TikTok and all that kind of good stuff. So social media, a personal post and a business post, that would be a standard that you could hold yourself to and do it 5 days a week. Don't have to do it 7 days. Just say one a day each, 5 days a week. There you go. There's a standard. It's interesting that I'm talking about this today because it just came up in my devotions this morning, this whole topic. But I have been thinking about behavioral standards for several days for myself personally, because I have a personal need to either produce through selling real estate or originating loans, and I've tried to think which of those paths, like you can't do everything, which I want to do. And then I still have a responsibility to support and serve all the agents and our Abbey team and our loan officers on the Jackson Henry team. And just I've got all these kind of things pulling at me in different directions, and I could easily fragment, and I don't want to fragment. I know you get the best results when you pour your energy in one direction. And so this is what inside the mind of Frank. This is where my mind has been the last several days. How can I unify my efforts, but in a way that serves all these important constituencies? And I came up with a performance standard yesterday. I'm going to float it to you. I'm not committing to it right here, live and in person. But here's what I kind of came up with. Similar to Blythe, I want to call 10 people a day that I'm in association with. I'm not talking about recruiting prospects or anything like that, but 10 people that I already have a relationship with. My Abbey team agents, my Jackson Henry loan officers, my staff, things like that. Just call, check in on them, and ask, is there anything I can do to help you today? Is there anything I can do? To me, that pulls it all together in my mind. I could be missing something, but I think that would be a performance standard that would address many, many issues. Anybody have a thought on that? You be my counselors here for a moment. What do you think about that? Um, Thank you, Kevin. I'm actually going to have Joy. I've got it written on my big glass board next to my desk. You can't see it right now, but I have on here Go High Level. That's the name of a CRM that I'm going to begin using. I use my KV Core strictly for Abbey Team, but I have other databases I need to work with, and I'm going to get Go High Level set up. My intention is put all my associated relationships in there, and then start doing 10 a day, 5 days a week. That
I
put me
would
in touch
say,
with,
yeah,
yeah,
I was just going to say that, I mean, in Ninja Selling, they talk about 50 live interviews a week. So I think that
yeah.
would put you there, and that's how you
So,
stay in flow with your people.
and they wouldn't necessarily be live interviews. It would be 10
They'd be on,
outreaches.
right.
Yeah, but that won't all answer the phone or call me back.
Of
But
course.
nevertheless, it's a touch on my part that they know that I haven't forgotten about them, I care about them, and I'm available to help them. I'm willing and eager to help them. So I'm kind of excited about that. And who knows? By the end of this conversation, I may even commit to it. We'll see. All right.
I, I
Um,
I'd get the tattoo now, Frank. Go ahead and get it done. You know, um, when all's said and done, there's a lot more said than done, especially for me. And I could tell you 20 versions of this, but the ones that I do most consistently, I guess I'm aware that I'm not doing all I could do, but then I hear Blythe say, well, yeah, no, that's legit. And I have been getting out this newsletter once a week for many months now, and so I'm
yes.
not giving myself credit for the things that I am doing. I have found out how to make posts on some of the social media, and I'm reminded just now of a post I shared this morning, and it was a guy named Steve Jobs, and he is a very old Steve Jobs. He's got long hair, looks like a hippie, and he tells the story of how when he was 12 years old, living in the Palo Alto area, he looked in the phone book and found the phone number of a guy named Bill Hewitt, of Hewlett Packard, called him up and said, "Hey, my name's Steve Jobs. I'm 12 years old, and I wonder if you have any old equipment. I want to make a frequency counter." The guy answered the phone and talked to him and gave him the tools, and next thing you know, gave him a summer job on the assembly line at Hewlett Packard making.
Wow.
And what's the story there? It's inspirational because you just do it. I have a thought to call Aunt Susie. Call Aunt Susie. I have a thing to call my neighbor. Call your neighbor. You know, it's Kevin putting up. You guys got to know this, that the biggest obstacle and nemesis in my life has been a guy named Kevin Williams. He says no to at least half of my ideas and dreams, and thwarts my efforts. And so this is the challenge, really, to just do it. And it's a refreshing little post and an encouragement from Steve. You know, just do it. Another way of saying it, I got this from last. Well, I got it from Phoenix, yeah, and it was to be the person, be the recruiter that you want to have. Be the EXP agent that's inviting other agents the way that you wish you were invited or supported or onboarded or whatever.
Be the
And
sponsor you wish you had. Yeah, that's
be
how
the
you said it when
sponsor
you
you
got
wish
back.
you had. And it's not to be critical to anyone, but just it's straight out of the Bible, and it's treat other people the way you want to be treated, and be the friend that you wish everybody else was to you. And so life is spot on with the hey, Susie won the track meet. Call her up. We had a marathon in the Woodlands this last Saturday, and I see a lot of my friends posting with medals on their neck and stuff. And I really ought to give them a personal high five
Yes.
and connect with them because they're out running and I'm not, and it was an achievement. So all this is good, Frank, and yours is very good too. Just to call 10 people. There are systems. Certainly, the Ninja system encompasses all of this in a very good way. The Ninja system, they break it down to the daily five, and the five
Yeah.
things are: have your daily gratitudes and affirmations, to have an agenda for the day and show up and stay on your agenda. Robin touched on this, that she's felt like she lost her mojo because she kind of fell out of her agenda. Um, the third one, this is a ninja thing that I have yet to embrace, is to write 2 personal notes a day. We're talking note card, pen, paper, mail. I don't know why I have such a struggle with this, but I do. Um, but maybe an email will count. I don't know. And then the last two are really important. Focus on your hot list. Focus on your warm list. My hot list is everybody I know who is thinking about doing a real estate deal in the next immediate term. And they know it, and I know it. And so, Fred, what can I do to help Fred? Susie, what can I do to help Susie? And really think about it and how can I move the ball forward. The warm list is a second list of people that they may not even know that they're going to do a real estate deal this week. All they know is they announced that they were expecting another baby last week on Facebook, and they don't even know it's coming. But pretty soon they're going to do the math and say, wait a minute, we can't stick this one in the closet. We need a bigger
Right.
house. And so they are on my warm list because I know they're fixing to be in the market, even if they don't. And so just simply doing those 5 things every day, spending time each morning focusing on the people, um, and the personal notes, getting them out, and then the other parts obviously are making the phone calls and doing the stuff. But there's plenty of ways to do it. I just need to do it.
So what you described there, Kevin, the Ninja 5, those are actual performance standards. You talked about the 2 notes a day. Brian Buffini is famous for his 5 notes a day, which was a performance standard he held himself to rigorously. His assistant would put the 5 cards on his desk in the morning, pre-addressed, but he could not leave the office until he had them all written. Uh, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And you mentioned a nudge to call somebody. Let me tell you, I did that yesterday. I called a number of people yesterday that I normally wouldn't have called. One of them was a guy I met last fall for the first time. I hadn't seen him since January. So this is a friendship very early stage. but I just felt like I needed to reach out to him. I called him and I said, "Hey, what you up to?" He said, "I'm walking between my kitchen table and my patio, and from my patio to my kitchen table to patio." And I said, "That sounds like you're pacing." He said, "Yes, I lost my job today." I had no idea at all. And yet it was that little nudge,
I, I
which I,
wanted to say, I wanted to say on that, like, if you have a thought to reach out to someone, that's not for
yes,
nothing. I always say that's the Holy Spirit prompting you to reach out to somebody. So always,
yes.
always do it.
Yeah, I think so. Kevin, you're right. Blythe, you're right. So we can systematize this. We can have our list of 2 or list of 5 or list of 10, but we also need to be very open and flexible for those, respond to those little nudges. They can open up doors. Okay. Well, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. It's what I wanted to get you all thinking about. Is there anything else that we need to put on the table? Anything you wanted to ask about? Any situation that you're facing you'd like some assistance with?
Well, since you mentioned that 2-1 buy down, would you kind of go through the process or real
Yeah, so
quick?
yeah, it's very simple. So the typically you'll do it with a seller contribution. A typical loan amount of $300,000, it's probably just going to be $5,000 or $6,000. So on a $300,000 home, you're asking for a 1 or 2% contribution from the seller. And what happens is, that note will go down to drop 2 points the first year, go down to like 5.5, 5 3/4, whatever it is. The next year, go to 6.5, 6 3/4, and not until the third year will they be paying the full note rate, 7.5, 7 3/4. But we know that rates are high, at least they are not perhaps over the last 100 years, but over the last 20 years, rates are high right now comparatively. And we're all hopeful that they're going to drop back in the 3, 4% range. And by the third year of this note, that could certainly be a possibility. The the borrower can refinance at any time without a prepayment penalty. So the hope is that you're never actually paying 7 3/4. That before that would kick in, rates would drop and you could refi. Blythe?
Yeah, so I've got some potential clients who they want to move up to a bigger house, but they're very concerned about the financial side of it. And I know this is something I can talk with my lender about as well, but since we're on the topic, they have quite a bit of equity in their home, and so they're wondering, I guess it would just depend on their specific situation, but in general, you would say it might be better to take a few thousand of those dollars from their equity and buy down their rate with a 2-1 buy down as opposed to putting more down on the house.
Well, yes. I mean, that is a math problem, and
Okay.
you can sit down with pencil and paper and see what you save. What the strategy behind that is, I think I'm getting a big echo. Can you hear the echo?
Mm-mm.
So how about I take my
Yeah,
mic off and we
Robin,
can both hear?
Okay,
mute your
yeah,
mic.
because I can't. I'm trying to plug in just so I can hear you guys.
Robin has joined me here in the
I
office,
can
and
hear you,
she's got
but
hers playing as well. So the idea is it enables a buyer to afford a monthly payment that they may not be able to otherwise. Now they have to qualify at the higher rate, but their actual payments, their first 2 years could be $300, $400 lower than what they would have been otherwise. And so the intent is not so much to save money overall, but it's just to enable them to get the home that they want right now. That makes sense? Okay. All righty then. There's Robin. She's showing her face.
had to come to the office.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
So one thing is I would want to extend an invitation to all y'all. Tomorrow is Friday. It's the Inspired Leaders Luncheon, which is 11:30 to 1:30. It's now at a new church. The venue is no longer the Glade Art Place in the Woodlands. It's a block or so over off of Grogan's Mill. But if you have any interest in going to a luncheon tomorrow, it's free. It's called Inspired Leaders. Find them on Facebook. And this is our friend Elizabeth Griever with Everson Cooper and her husband Andy. They do this one, and just I wanted to extend that invitation to all y'all. It's a nice place to people get dressed up in their Sunday clothes and come on out and look pretty. And we eat Mexican from Cafe Roberto's, which is kind of nice. So Cucina Roberto's, whatever. It's good. It's good Mex. And I'm extending that invite to all y'all.
So
Bring a
on
friend.
that note, let me also extend two invitations. This coming Monday, Power Monday, we've got Michelle Carruthers in the teaching role, teaching on ninja selling. Now, I did a book club overview in January. This was the first thing, that's how we kicked off the year on ninja selling. Michelle Carruthers has actually been following the system for 5 years. So she's going to come probably doing a 3 or 4 part series. She's getting into the material to see how much she can actually share in about 60 minutes, but she'll be kicking that off this coming Monday morning. I would strongly encourage you to be here live and in person. And if that's not enough, we now have a mini fridge in the training room, stocked Dr. Peppers, Diet Cokes, Mountain Dews. Okay, there we go. Got that all set up yesterday. And then Dario Torres, who's been hanging out with us, is suggesting that we get together for a potluck. Since the inside of the building, they're pedal to the metal now on the renovations. Really cool. They're building the framing all today. We'll probably do something outside and do it a week from today. Next Thursday, do it at noon. I'll fire up the grill, and then we'll invite everybody to come on in and just bring, some side dishes or desserts or things like that. So that's not official yet, but it should be official here when I gather with my staff in just a little bit and we confirm everything. Okay, so there you go. Tomorrow, Inspired Leaders. Monday, Power Monday, Ninja Selling, Michelle Carruthers, and then next Thursday we'll do potluck. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna call it a wrap. I appreciate you guys joining me. Remember, be holy and be perfect. All right. God bless you guys. Take care.